James Gorey here. Thanks for stopping by my YouTube channel. If you got here through the Epic Times, I appreciate that. I've been writing for the Epic Times for a number of years and on China and current events and so forth. Or through the Banana Republican, which I blog on, and which these videos will be on as well. So anyway, thanks for stopping by. Hey, at this moment, this time I want to talk about something that's a little off the beaten path, but it's very interesting, I think, to me anyway. And so let's get into it. A few days ago, last week, Israeli priests, Jewish priests in Jerusalem, burned, sacrificed a cow. Holy cow, you say? Yeah. Well, not quite holy, but we'll get there. I couldn't help myself. No, it's actually very serious. A red heifer was a female cow, I believe. A red heifer was slaughtered and burned for the first time in right around 2,000 years ago. The last time was in 70 A.D., right prior to the destruction of the Second Temple, rather. So that's a pretty big deal, having a cow, slaughtering a cow. And the red heifer has some serious significance to the Jewish religion. It has been used via the book of Numbers. I think it's Numbers 19. Rabbis are instructed to slaughter a flawless red heifer. Flawless meaning not having any other hairs on its hide except red. So apparently the heifer that they slaughtered was not perfect, but it was a dry run. It was a practice run. So they slaughtered it and burned it at the Al-Aqsa Mosque, or just outside it, which is a very provocative thing to do and very historical thing to do. And it may be a very foreshadowing event. So look at it from context. The Jews are now, the Jewish priests, the Israeli priests, have decided to collect perfect red heifers, or heifers that are red. In this case, this one was imperfect, but what I understand is that there was one or two that so far remain perfect. And they slaughtered this imperfect one in a ceremony outlined in Numbers, in the Tanakh, in Numbers 19, with the ashes of which are used as a purification rite for the temple. So you may say, well, there is no temple. That's the point. There's no temple today. But what does that look like tomorrow? It looks like the priests may know something that we don't. In other words, I'm not going to just shoot in the dark here, but I'm going to reasonably surmise that the ongoing talks between Netanyahu and Trump regarding peace, regarding the Abraham Accords 2.0, Hamas, the Palestinians, the two-state solution, all these things, all these factors, could it be possible that a third temple, is part of those negotiations? I don't know that. I'm just surmising that. I'm just speculating. But it makes sense in a sense. Why would priests now start practicing to the purification rites of a temple if there's no temple? Unless they know that there will be one, and they want to make sure they're doing it right. So you don't have to be really into Judaica and all the obscure rites. This is a pretty big one. It hasn't happened again, like I said, in almost 2,000 years. There's been no reason to. There's been no temple. So a reasonable person might say, well, why are we doing this? And we're doing this because we know that a temple will be soon be part of some kind of peace deal. Now, what does that mean for the rest of the world? What does that mean for the Middle East? It has quite a lot of import. The fact that they sacrificed and burned a heifer, which it would be the 10th. It's only been done 9 times before in all of history of Israel. And the last time was 2,000 years ago. Now they do a dry run, and so they're looking for the 10th perfect red heifer in order to purify a temple that has yet to exist. But I would venture to say, I'll bet it's on its way. I'll bet it's on its way. And that has huge implications, in terms of Christian eschatology. And if you're not familiar with Christian eschatology, it's basically the New Testament and the Old, by the way, but talking about what things will look like in Israel and what the world will look like, and what's an end times, the end of time, the end of this age, as it were, right? Which is, to many people, it's strange and obtuse and bizarre. But if you're a Christian, as I am, then it makes perfect sense. You look at what the Jews are doing in Israel. You look at what Iran is doing with Israel, and you look what Hamas, which is by the way an acronym that they chose, but it's also a Hebrew word that means violence and fanaticism. And it says in the end of days, Hamas will be rife in the world. Well, here we are. So getting back to the heifers, it looks like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some notification that says, look, and by the way, one more thing, one more piece of this is the UN is having this big peace and security meeting, and that they postponed it until a couple weeks from now, I believe. But the idea, maybe a week from now, but the idea is that they're going to have these meetings, maybe late July, early August, about peace and security. And peace and security is mentioned in the New Testament as a warning. When they say peace and security, destruction will come. So on the one hand, you have these apocalyptic, well, the apocalypse really, in the book of Revelation, you have these predictions, prophecies, Old and New Testament, and the fact that the priestly class, I think they're called the Kohanim or Kohanim, the Cohen tribe, the Levite tribe, or the priestly tribe, performing this act, this purification rite and sacrifice, this ritual that hasn't been done in almost 2,000 years since the Second Temple, before it was destroyed. That's a pretty big deal. You're not going to read about it a lot in the mainstream press, but it's a very big deal, especially when you connect it to the talks on Mideast peace between Netanyahu and Trump, the Abraham 2.0 Accords, the UN meeting on peace and security for the region, all of these things going on. It's a very, very, there's a picture for those who have the eyes to see it. I don't know what the outcome will be particularly, or when. I know what the outcome will be, what the Bible says the outcome will be, and I believe that. I have no reason not to, because so far there's a lot of things that are coming right on schedule, whether it's Iran attacking Israel or the Gaza thing. That's also foretold in the Old Testament. And you can make what that, if you will, but it's there. So the red heifer thing, check it out. Do your own research. It doesn't take very long to figure out something's afoot. Something's going on that hasn't gone on in 2,000 years. And that ought to pique your curiosity. I hope it does. So anyway, I'm James Gorey. Thanks so much for checking us out. Hey, if you would, subscribe, give a thumbs up, and a comment. That would help us. Thanks so much. See you next time.